Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be giving you a video book review of this book I just read called Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I devoured this book literally in less than 2 days, and it is just absolutely fantastic. So I can't wait to get started with this review. So this book was published back in 2017, and it quickly became kind of a runaway hit. I believe Reese Witherspoon has acquired the rights to it as a movie, although I don't believe that production has begun on the movie yet. So Eleanor Oliphant is a book ultimately about loneliness and how crippling it is. It's about a young woman who lives in Glasgow, Scotland, and she had a very traumatic childhood that over the course of the novel we learn about just little by little. And she has a very regimented life, but she doesn't really have any friends or anyone she interacts with outside of her coworkers. She is very kind of culturally sheltered, and just very regimented in how she lives her life. So the kind of instigating action in this book, and I'm not giving anything away by saying this because this is on the dust jacket, but the instigating action in this book is when Eleanor and one of her coworkers, this guy named Raymond who works in IT, when they see an old man fall over in the street and they rush over to save him and they call an ambulance, which ends up saving his life. So let me just read you the dust jacket. So it says, everything changes when Eleanor meets Raymond, the bumbling and deeply unhygienic IT guy from her office. When she and Raymond together save Sammy, an elderly gentleman who has fallen, the three rescue one another from the lives of isolation that they had been living. Ultimately, it is Raymond's big heart that will help Eleanor find the way to repair her own profoundly damaged one. If she does, she'll learn that she too is capable of finding friendship and even love after all. So, a few words about that. I absolutely loved this book. I would give it 100 million stars out of 5 if I could, but I don't think that the publisher's blurb really does it justice, because that little blurb to me makes it sound like it's kind of light and fluffy chick lit that's going to end with a happily ever after romance. And I'm not saying this doesn't have elements of romance and of chick lit, but just as a fair warning to anyone looking to pick this book up, it is very, very dark. Like it's heavy. It has a lot of topics in it that are extremely depressing. And, I try to keep spoilers out of my reviews. So I'm not going to go into details, but I just will say, kind of trigger warning for anyone looking to read this book. It does involve topics such as child abuse, rape, alcoholism. I'm trying to think what else. And some of these are just kind of passing little instances, and then some of them are on screen a fair bit. So just a fair warning if you want to avoid media that has those things. But that being said, I can't say enough good things about this book. The writing was phenomenal. Gail Honeyman, I want her to teach a masterclass in how to write, because it's hilarious. And I know that sounds weird given that I just told you some topics that this book covers, but this book is really, really, really funny. Like, snort, laugh out loud in your living room funny. Like, there were so many parts where I would just start cackling, literally laughing out loud, and my husband would be like, "What is so funny?" And a lot of the humor um, is kind of situational humor based off of Eleanor's just complete lack of understanding of certain social customs. Like, for example, there's one scene where she and Raymond are at a birthday party, and there's a DJ, and he starts playing a song that she doesn't recognize, but she watches and observes very scientifically as everyone else gets on the dance floor. And at first, she notices that they're all just kind of doing these, I don't know, free-form dance moves like pointing and I don't know, stuff like that probably. And then when the song hits its chorus, she notices them all like raising their hands in synchrony. And it takes her a few beats, but then she's like, oh, there's logic to this. And, as the reader, you realize like she's being exposed to YMCA for the first time. And it's just laugh out loud funny. Um, imagining someone who's never heard the YMCA song before and doesn't know the YMCA dance. And, she eventually picks it up. But it's moments like that that are so endearing and so funny. Um, and it's really refreshing to read a book that can have so much humor and yet still tackle really, really dark topics at the same time. Um, I want to put on a hat just to take it off to Gail Honeyman because, like, phenomenal writing. Um, and the other reason I really loved this book was because I feel like it really just helped me as a person. I really struggle with loneliness. Thank God I do not have a background that's tragic like Eleanor's is. And I won't give away any details, but it's very, very tragic. And thank God I don't have that kind of background, but I do really struggle with loneliness. I've been very open on my blog about struggling with depression, especially after infertility and miscarriages and melanoma and, things like that. And also, we have moved around a lot. Like, I have lived in four, like 6 or 7 different cities and states in my whole life, and that's across state lines and time zones and countries and continents. I mean, I've lived all over. I've moved a lot, and that has made it difficult to maintain and cultivate friendships. And also, I have really, really, really bad social anxiety, like terrible social anxiety. um, like, I break out into a sweat when the telephone rings. Like, I have really bad social anxiety. Um, and Eleanor in this book, she talks about how loneliness is the new cancer, in the sense that no one really wants to admit that they're lonely. When you go into the office on a Monday morning and someone says, "How was your weekend?" You're supposed to just say, "Oh, fine, fine, fine." But what if it's not? What if you didn't speak to a human being the entire weekend? What if you feel like you may die of loneliness? That's something that I personally really struggle with. And a lot of times I feel like I'm alone in being alone. Um, and by that, I mean, you know, I look at Instagram and the television and Facebook, and I see people going to parties with like tons of people and talking about hanging out with their best friends and all this stuff. And I'm like, what is that like? Like, I mean, I have friends, I hang out with people, I'm having people over tonight. So, it's not that extreme, but like, I I don't have like aside from my husband, I don't have like, really, really intimately deep relationships with a lot of other people. And I worry that I'm alone in that sense, that other people, everyone else around me, has lots of friends and family, and I'm just a weirdo. And reading Eleanor Oliphant made me feel less alone in being alone. Because like this character just leapt to life from the pages, and I feel like she's my friend now. And I know that sounds so crazy, but I'm a reader, and to me, all characters come to life, and I love books, and that's the beauty of books. But it just kind of made me feel validated in my loneliness, and it gave me hope. So if you're struggling with loneliness at all, like, I highly recommend this book. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I will say, like, the kind of dark triggering material in it, normally I'm pretty sensitive to stuff like that, and I was able to tolerate it just fine. I mean, it's sad, but it's this book ends on a happy note, I'll say that. So that is my review of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I'll show the book one more time. I love this book. Like, oops, please, like, go get it. It is so, so, so good. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.